The vastness beyond Neptune was supposed to be empty, a dark, cold void where only frozen ice and the slow drift of distant comets dared to linger. But that night, something new stirred in the shadows of the Kuiper Belt. Deep space sensors aboard. The orbital station Aegis hummed quietly, watching, waiting. Dr. Lena Ivers sat alone in the dim glow of the control room, eyes flicking over streams of data. For weeks, her team had noticed a strange anomaly, an unnatural cluster of electromagnetic signatures all concentrated beyond the orbit of Pluto. The readings suggested not just a single object, but an entire fleet, massive ships cloaked against detection by technology humans barely understood. Lena swallowed hard. They're here. At first, she doubted herself. This had to be some sort of glitch. But the data was irrefutable. Hundreds of vessels, sleek and silent, coalescing into formation with military precision. The Zalvari. The name was whispered in fearful legends, an alien empire rumored to have conquered dozens of star systems, a race of cold hunters who left nothing but desolation in their wake. The Zalvari had not been seen near Earth for decades. Most humans believed their homeworld was safe, protected by the vastness of space and Earth's own growing defenses. But now, with the fleet poised at the edge of the solar system, all those assumptions shattered. Lena tapped her comm. Commander Reyes, you need to see this. The Zalvari fleet is inbound. I'm sending coordinates now. Thousands of kilometers below, on the surface of Mars, Captain Mara Reyes was running drills with her unit. The red planet was humanity's first true foothold beyond Earth, a testament to human ambition and resilience. Colonies dotted the plains and canyons, feeding and supplying the growing population. Mars was not just a settlement, it was a fortress. Mara's comm crackled urgently. Captain Reyes, report to command immediately. I repeat, immediate briefing. She wiped the dust from her visor and headed to the underground command center, her squad close behind. The sterile metal corridors echoed with the sound of boots and the low murmur of anxious voices. When Mara entered the room, a giant holomap displayed the incoming fleet. The scale of it was staggering. Over 500 ships, some kilometers in length, their sleek black hulls reflecting faint starlight. This is not a drill, her superior said grimly. The Zalvari have been detected beyond Neptune's orbit. They're not coming for scouting, they're coming to conquer. Mara felt a cold shiver. She had trained for war, prepared for invasion, but nothing could erase the weight of knowing the enemy was so close, so real. Back on Earth, the global situation was tense. World leaders convened in emergency sessions, trying to set aside old rivalries and unite. The United Nations Security Council chamber was a storm of voices, accusations, and desperate plans. Ambassador Khalid Ahmed stood and spoke with measured urgency. We face a threat unlike any other. The Zalvari do not negotiate. Our survival depends on unity and swift action. But unity was fragile. Nations squabbled over control of space defenses, over who would lead the response. Meanwhile, civilians watched the skies with growing fear as satellites began flickering and strange signals disrupted communications. In a darkened room deep beneath the Earth's surface, the Interstellar Threat Response Authority, ITRA, activated the Silent Shield Protocol, classified orbital weapon systems long denied to the public. Railguns mounted on asteroids, drone carriers hidden in lunar caves, and Mars kinetic batteries all roared to life in preparation. Days passed. With grim anticipation, the Zalvari fleet inched forward, maintaining their cloaking field but revealing their intent through gravitational signatures. Humans launched reconnaissance drones, small and fast, but the aliens responded with swift, lethal countermeasures. Tensions mounted. Then, just as Earth's leaders debated a final peace offer, an act of desperation, a sharp burst of alien encrypted data flooded human networks. The message was clear and chilling. Surrender unconditionally or be destroyed. No negotiation, no warning. Mara stood before her troops, voice steady. They want Earth. They think we'll fall without a fight. They don't know what it means to face humanity united. Her eyes scanned the hardened faces of Martian soldiers, engineers, scientists, veterans, all ready to defend the red sands from becoming a graveyard. We hold Mars. We stop them here, before they reach Earth's doorstep. That night, as Earth cities dimmed their lights in silent anticipation, Dr. Lena returned to her workstation. She watched the stars, the distant fleet slowly crossing the void, a silent shadow against the cold canvas of space. Her fingers trembled over the console. "They came to conquer Earth," she whispered, "but we won't let them come closer." The war was beginning. The United Nations headquarters in New York City was a shell of its former self. Years of political infighting had hollowed out its power, and now, faced with an existential threat, the world's fractured nations were forced into an uneasy alliance. The Grand Chamber buzzed with a volatile mix of desperation and distrust. Ambassador Khalid Ahmed stared at the holographic projection of the Zalvari fleet hovering beyond Neptune. His voice cut through the murmurs. "The time for diplomacy is over. Our survival depends on immediate, coordinated defense." From the back, a sharp voice interrupted. "We cannot trust this interstellar threat response authority you keep mentioning. It answers to no one. Who's to say they won't use this war to seize power?" The chamber erupted into chaos, old rivalries flaring. Nations accused one another of hoarding resources, of spying, of sabotaging joint defenses. Meanwhile, the clock ticked mercilessly. The Zalvari fleet was closing the gap between Neptune and Mars faster than anyone expected. Half a world away, on the windswept plains of the Martian colonies, Captain Mara Reyes paced the command bunker of Artemis Base. The walls hummed with the energy of tactical displays, comms chatter, and the soft metallic clanks of soldiers preparing for combat. Mara's team had been drilled, armed, and honed for this moment. But she knew readiness was more than weapons and strategy. It was about trust. Her comm crackled. "Captain, this is Lieutenant Chen. We've intercepted chatter from a faction on Earth planning to pull out their Martian support to protect their own. If that happens, we lose our foothold." Mara clenched her jaw. "Understood. We'll hold the line. No one abandons Mars, not while I'm alive." Mara turned to her squad. "They want us divided. They want fear and mistrust. We'll show them what happens when humanity stands united. Even broken, we are stronger than they expect." Back on Earth, the situation grew grimmer. In a secure underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps, the ITRE leadership gathered to finalize their battle plan. They revealed what had been whispered only in the darkest corners of intelligence circles: a global network of hidden weaponry, orbital kinetic launchers, asteroid railguns, and even experimental plasma accelerators on Mars, all ready to fire. Dr. Lena Ivers stood beside General Malik, the battle-hardened commander of Earth's space forces. "Our drones have mapped the fleet's weak points," she said, "but their cloaking tech adapts quickly. We need to strike before they reach the asteroid belt." General Malik nodded. "The world doesn't know what we're preparing. They think it's peaceful exploration. It's not." Meanwhile, on Mars, Mara's unit prepared for a vital mission, securing a remote outpost on Phobos, the small cratered moon, which the Zalvari aimed to use as a staging ground for ground assaults. The moon's low gravity made combat unpredictable. Mara briefed her team, her voice firm. "This is the front line. If Phobos falls, the Zalvari will pour troops directly onto Mars. We cannot let that happen. This is more than a battle. It's our home." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Arjun Patel, glanced at her. "Our intel says they're experimenting with gravity manipulation biotech there. We need to be ready for anything." Mara nodded. "We adapt or we die." As the sun set over the Martian horizon, Mara watched the distant Earth hanging in the black sky, a fragile blue and white orb glowing like a beacon of hope. But the cracks on Earth's surface were more than physical. Political fracture threatened. To tear apart the alliance at the moment it was needed most, she sent a message to ITRA Command. "We're holding, but Earth's divisions might cost us all. If we fall here, it won't just be Mars that's lost." Her message was met with silence. Meanwhile, in orbit above Mars, an experimental fleet of human warships, cloaked and armed with prototype weapons, moved into position. The ships were crewed by a mix of Earth soldiers and Martian colonists, all bound by one purpose: to make the Zalvari pay before they reached the red planet's surface. Mara's helmet comms lit up with static and urgency. "Captain Reyes, this is General Malik. Earth's divisions delay a full-scale response, but the weapon systems are ready. When you give the order, you will unleash the most advanced counterstrike humanity has ever seen." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Understood, but we don't just fight for Earth. We fight for every colony, every life on Mars, and the future we built together." Suddenly, an explosion rocked the Artemis base. The alarms blared as Mara's squad rushed to the perimeter. "Sabotage," shouted Lieutenant Chen. "Zalvari infiltrators, or worse, traitors." Panic threatened to spread. The fragile unity they'd built threatened to crumble under the weight of fear and mistrust. Mara slammed her fist on the table. "No, we don't break, we don't fold, we fight, and we win." That night, as Earth's leaders grappled with distrust and Mars braced for invasion, Dr. Lena sat alone watching streams of encrypted alien transmissions flood the data nets. She whispered to herself, "We may be broken, but the shadows are moving, and we will be ready." The outer solar system was a frozen battlefield. Between the shimmering rings of Saturn, humanity's newest weapon stirred to life. The drone swarm, silent, swift, and deadly, was humanity's first gamble. Designed to cripple the Zalvari fleet before it could reach Mars, these tiny machines carried the hope of billions. On board the orbital command vessel Vanguard, Dr. Lena Ivers stared at the holoscreen, watching streams of data pulse in real time. Her fingers hovered over the launch console. "This is it," she said softly. "If we fail, there may be no second chance." Captain Reyes's voice crackled through her comm, steady and sharp. "The fleet's almost within range. Initiate launch." With a hum and a flash, thousands of sleek drones detached from Vanguard, slipping into the void like a swarm of deadly fireflies. Each drone was equipped with electromagnetic pulse disruptors and micro-warped kinetic weapons, designed to punch through the Zalvari's advanced shields. The drones darted between the shifting debris of Saturn's rings, evading sensors and turrets. The Zalvari were prepared. Automated defense systems flared to life, plasma bolts streaking across the void. The drone swarm scattered, regrouped, and surged forward in synchronized waves. Lena's heart pounded as she watched one drone carrier take a hit, exploding into a brilliant flare of shattered metal. But the swarm pressed on, weaving a deadly dance among the alien warships. Suddenly, the flagship's shields flickered. One by one, ships blinked out of formation as the drones hacked their systems, sending cascading failures through engines and weapon arrays. On Mars, the impact was immediate. Sirens blared across Artemis base and outposts around the planet. Zalvari vessels crippled by the drone strike began to fall out of orbit, burning in the thin atmosphere or tumbling into the barren plains. But the battle was far from over. Captain Mara Reyes sat in the command chair, the holographic map flashing with blips representing the crippled fleet. Relief was short-lived as a sudden explosion rocked the base. Red warning lights flooded the room. "Incoming orbital bombardment," shouted Lieutenant Chen. The Zalvari retaliated swiftly, firing plasma lances and kinetic rods from disabled ships still within range. Explosions rocked Artemis base's outer defenses. Mara's squad scrambled to reinforce the damaged sectors, sealing bulkheads and activating emergency protocols. "Get those rails back online," Mara barked. "We need to return fire before they breach our perimeter." Amid the chaos, Mara's unit prepared for their next mission, a covert insertion onto Phobos, where the Zalvari were racing to establish a foothold. The moon's desolate surface offered little cover, and its low gravity meant that every step was a calculated risk. Stealth and precision, Mara reminded her team. No mistakes. As their drop pods hurtled toward the moon's surface, Mara's mind raced with the knowledge that the Zalvari's gravity manipulation biotech could turn the tide against them. The last thing they needed was to be caught off guard. The pod slammed into Phobos's dusty crust. Mara's squad emerged into eerie silence broken only by their breathing and the faint hiss of their suits. The terrain was a maze of craters and jagged rock, punctuated by glowing alien structures pulsing with unnatural energy. Suddenly, the air shimmered, gravity shifted, and Mara found herself struggling to stay grounded as invisible forces tugged at her limbs. "Gravity fields," she muttered. "They're using the biotech." Bullets whizzed past as Zalvari warriors materialized from the shadows, their weapons humming with deadly energy. The firefight was brutal. Mara's team adapted quickly, using magnetic boots and grappling hooks to navigate the shifting terrain. The battle spilled into narrow caverns beneath the surface, where the confined space turned every encounter into a desperate fight for survival. In one cavern, Mara spotted an alien console pulsating with data streams. She crouched and hacked into the system, uncovering a chilling message. Project Cataclysm, weapon of planetary annihilation. Activation sequence stored beneath Martian ice. Her blood ran cold. If the Zalvari planned to unleash this weapon, Mars and all its colonies would be reduced to ash. She sent a coded alert to Earth Command. "We have to stop them. Whatever it takes." Back on Vanguard, Dr. Lena monitored the unfolding chaos with grim determination. The drone swarm had won the first strike, but the Zalvari's retaliation proved they would not surrender easily. She turned to General Malik, who stood nearby. "This is only the beginning. We need every resource, focused on Mars. If we lose the red planet, Earth is next." Malik nodded. "Then we hold the line at Phobos and Mars, or we lose everything." As the night deepened across the solar system, the battle raged on, a deadly game of cat and mouse between human ingenuity and alien might. On Mars, Captain Mara Reyes stood amidst the battered ruins of Phobos base, eyes steeling with resolve. "They thought they could strike first and break us," she whispered, "but we will burn brighter than their shadows." Phobos wasn't supposed to be a battlefield. The tiny, battered moon had long served as a quiet relay station and mining outpost, until the Zalvari seized it, transforming its craters and tunnels into a fortress of alien war machines. Now, it was the first line of defense in a war that stretched across the solar system. Captain Mara Reyes crouched behind a twisted chunk of rock, her pulse pounding. The low gravity made every movement disorienting, but she couldn't afford hesitation. Her squad was spread thin, pinned down by bursts of green energy that cut through the dusty air. "We need to hit their gravity core," Mara whispered into her comm. "Disable the field and we might turn the tide." Lieutenant Arjun Patel, his face grim behind his helmet, nodded. "On it. I'll lead the sabotage team." The squad slipped through shadowed tunnels carved deep beneath the moon's scarred surface. Ancient mining shafts twisted into the dark, but the Zalvari had altered them, their biotech pulsing with an eerie light. Suddenly, gravity shifted again. Mara stumbled as invisible waves tugged her upward, threatening to send her crashing into the cavern ceiling. "Enemy biotech," she growled. "Brace yourselves." From the gloom, strange shapes emerged, Zalvari soldiers enhanced by biogravity implants. Their movements were unnerving, limbs bending in impossible angles as they seemed to manipulate gravity itself. The firefight exploded in the cramped tunnels. Mara's team fired plasma rounds, but the alien soldiers were faster, their gravity, manipulation throwing human tactics into chaos. One of Mara's men was flung against the wall with crushing force. "We have to outthink them," Mara shouted. "Use the tunnels. Break their gravity fields with concentrated charges." Lieutenant Patel's team raced ahead, planting explosives near the glowing core chamber. The tension was unbearable. One wrong step would trigger a collapse, or worse, alert the entire base. As the charges counted down, Mara fought off another wave of Zalvari warriors, barely dodging a blast that singed her armor. "Charges set," Patel's voice crackled. "Fall back," Mara ordered. The tunnel trembled as the explosives detonated in a controlled blast. The biogravity field flickered and died, the unnatural pull vanishing instantly. The Zalvari soldiers howled in frustration, their movements slowed and clumsy. With The gravity core destroyed. Human forces seized the advantage. Mara's squad pressed the attack, pushing through the maze of tunnels toward the heart of the alien base. The walls hummed with energy, the air thick with tension. In a hidden chamber, Mara discovered an alien console streaming encrypted messages. With swift fingers, she decrypted the data, revealing chilling information. "This isn't just a conquest," she muttered. "They're experimenting on Martian soil, bioengineered weapons that manipulate gravity itself. If they perfect this, Earth won't stand a chance," her comm crackled. "Captain, this is General Malik. Earth forces are holding, but intel confirms reinforcements from the Zalvari homeworld are inbound. You have to prepare for a siege." Mara's jaw clenched. "We'll hold. We have to." The battle outside intensified. Orbital bombardments lit the dark sky as Zalvari warships unleashed plasma storms on Phobos' surface. Mara's squad scrambled to fortify their positions, setting up barricades and emergency shields. The cramped tunnels echoed with the sounds of war, explosions, shouted orders, the eerie hum of alien biotech. Every hour stretched the limits of their endurance. "Captain, morale is slipping," Lieutenant Chen reported. "We're exhausted, outnumbered." Mara met his gaze. "They think they can break us with fear. We show them they're wrong. Humanity doesn't surrender." Amid the siege, Mara uncovered an ancient Martian ruin beneath Phobos, remnants of a civilization long erased by time but still alive in the stone. There, hidden in cryptic carvings, was a clue about a weapon buried beneath Mars itself, something the Zalvari desperately wanted to find. Her fingers traced the symbols. "This is it, the key to their plan, and maybe our salvation." As the days dragged on, the human defenders fought not just for survival, but for hope. Every skirmish, every narrow escape, every moment of unity forged a resolve stronger than any weapon. On the battered surface of Phobos, Mara rallied her squad. "We hold here." The distant thunder of explosions from orbit reminded them all. The war was far from over. In the shadows, the Zalvari High Commander watched their progress with growing fury. "The humans are more resilient than expected," he hissed. "Prepare. The next phase, we will crush them before they destroy us." The Martian dust swirled like a ghost across the barren plains, whispering secrets buried beneath the crimson surface. Captain Mara Reyes stood at the edge of an ancient excavation site, her breath fogging in the cold, filtered air of her suit. Around her, her squad set up sensors and scanning equipment, the glow of their visors piercing the Martian twilight. They had followed the cryptic clues from Phobos to this forgotten ruin, a place untouched by human hands for millennia. The hieroglyphic carvings etched into the rock spoke of a weapon so powerful it could reshape worlds. The Zalvari were hunting for it, and if they found it first, humanity's fate was sealed. "We need to locate the core quickly," Mara said, her voice steady but urgent. "If the aliens get their hands on this, Earth and Mars are finished." Lieutenant Arjun Patel examined the scans. "There's something down there beneath the ice layers near the northern pole. It's large. Too large to be natural," Mara nodded. "We've got to get ahead of them." Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers above, the Zalvari fleet swarmed the asteroid belt, their warships weaving through the rocks like deadly predators. High Commander Skara paced the bridge of the Oblivion, his eyes cold and calculating. "The humans cling to hope," he sneered. "But hope is a fragile thing. Soon we will crush it underfoot." His advisors reported progress, human forces strained but unbroken. The siege of Phobos had slowed their advance, but they had not stopped it. Now, with reinforcements arriving from deep space, the final assault on Mars was imminent. Skara's gaze hardened. "The hidden weapon beneath Mars must be ours. Send the extraction teams. No mercy." Back on Mars, Mara's team prepared for the harsh journey to the northern ice caps. The terrain was unforgiving, jagged ice cliffs and crevasses that threatened to swallow them whole. Each step was a gamble. "We move fast," Mara ordered. "We can't let them catch us unprepared." The squad's rover convoy kicked up clouds of red dust as they sped across the frozen landscape, the sun dipping low behind Olympus Mons. At the site, Mara activated the drilling rig, boring into the ice. Hours stretched into tense silence. The only sounds the whirring machines and the distant wind howling through the canyons. Suddenly, the sensors blared. Something was approaching. Fast. Zalvari extraction teams had beaten them to the site. Contact, Lieutenant Chen shouted, pulling his weapon. From the shimmering heat haze, black-armored Zalvari soldiers emerged, weapons raised, moving with lethal precision. Mara's squad dove for cover as plasma blasts tore through the ice. The battle was close and brutal, fought amid the glittering shards of ice and rock. "Hold the line," Mara yelled, firing back. Lieutenant Patel and his team fought desperately to protect the drilling rig. The hidden weapon was nearly within reach. Inside the ice, something ancient and powerful lay buried. As the drilling pierced deeper, the sensors revealed a massive structure, a crystalline core pulsing with faint blue energy. "It's alive," Patel whispered, awestruck. "This technology, it's beyond anything we've seen." Mara's comm crackled. "Dr. Ivers, you read me?" "Loud and clear, Captain. What's your status?" "We're close to the core. The Zalvari are attacking. We need extraction support now. I'm sending reinforcements from Vanguard. Hold tight." As the firefight intensified, Mara's squad fought like shadows, using every trick to outmaneuver the Zalvari. But their numbers were overwhelming. One by one, her team was pushed back toward the drilling site. Mara glanced at the core's readings, a potential weapon of unimaginable power. If they could harness it, humanity might turn the tide. She made a decision. "Prepare to evacuate," Mara ordered. "But before we leave, set charges to destroy the core if it falls to them." The squad worked swiftly, planting explosives around the crystalline structure. Suddenly, a deafening roar filled the air. The ground trembled as a massive Zalvari dreadnought entered orbit, its weapons targeting the ice fields. From the Vanguard, Dr. Lena Ivers watched helplessly. "They're escalating," she murmured. "The war just became a battle for survival." As Mara's team retreated under heavy fire, the explosives detonated. The ice shattered in a brilliant cascade of blue light and destruction, burying the hidden weapon in ruins. The blast sent shockwaves through the Martian atmosphere, and the Zalvari forces faltered. Mara's voice was grim. "We may have lost the weapon, but we've bought Earth and Mars something precious: time." Back on Oblivion, High Commander Sakara's fury was palpable. "They destroyed our prize. Find it. Crush their resistance. Show no weakness." But somewhere deep beneath Mars, buried beneath ice and rock, faint pulses of blue energy continued to flicker, alive, waiting. The fragile alliance that had held Earth and Mars together was cracking beneath the weight of war. In the grand halls of the United Nations battered headquarters, heated voices echoed as representatives from every corner of the globe argued over strategy, resources, and trust. Ambassador Khalid Ahmed slammed his fist on the table, silencing the room. "We face extinction if we do not stand united. The Zalvari will exploit any fracture in our defenses." A delegate from the Eastern Coalition scoffed. "Unite? Our people starve while other nations hoard supplies for their war machines. Why should we bleed for a Martian colony that once refused us aid?" Voices rose in anger and accusation. Old grudges surfaced. Fears of betrayal simmered beneath every word. The coalition that had formed in desperation was unraveling just as the greatest battle approached. Far away in the stark corridors of the Martian colonies, Captain Mara Reyes felt the weight of this division crushing her. The message she had sent earlier, warning of the Zalvari's relentless advance and the discovery of the hidden weapon, had been met with silence from Earth's leaders. Her squad was battered but unbroken. Supplies were running low. The Martian settlers looked to her as a beacon of hope, but even she was beginning to doubt. Lieutenant Chen approached, voice low. "Captain, Earth's command says they can't spare reinforcements. Their priorities have shifted. We're on our own." Mara's eyes hardened. "Then we fight harder. For Mars, for Earth, for everyone who still believes." In a dimly lit war room on Vanguard, Dr. Lena Ivers reviewed incoming intelligence. The drone swarm had slowed the Zalvari fleet, but reinforcements were pouring in. The High Commander's fury had only intensified their assault. "General Malik," she said, "Earth's governments are fracturing. Without unity, our efforts here are doomed." Malik nodded grimly. "Then it's up to us. We'll hold the line at Mars. We'll rally the broken pieces of humanity, one way or another." Back on Mars, Mara received a transmission from an unlikely source. The rival faction that had once opposed Martian independence. Their leader, Commander Elise Tanaka, spoke with unexpected urgency. "We have assets hidden beneath Valles Marineris. Weapons, personnel. If we combine forces, we can mount a counteroffensive." Mara hesitated. Years of distrust ran deep, but the Zalvari threat left no room for grudges. "Meet us at the canyon's edge," Mara replied. "We have one shot to save this world." As Mara's and Tanaka's forces merged, they devised a bold plan. A strike against the Zalvari staging grounds on Mars. The biogravity technology still threatened them, but with combined firepower and determination, they might turn the tide. Meanwhile, in orbit, High Commander Sakara prepared his final assault. The humans cling to hope, but hope is a fragile thing. Tonight, we shatter it. The stage was set for a battle that would decide the fate of two worlds and the future of humanity itself. The crimson horizon of Mars burned bright as dawn broke over the battered settlements. Captain Mara Reyes stood atop a ridge overlooking the sprawling Zalvari encampment nestled in the Valles Marineris Canyon, a twisted hive of alien biotech and war machines. The merged forces of Mars's fractured factions had arrived, united by desperation and resolve. Today, we fight not just for survival, but for the soul of humanity. Mara's voice echoed through the comms, steady and resolute. "This is our moment. We either rise together or fall divided. Let's make it count." Lieutenant Arjun Patel loaded his rifle, eyes flickering with fierce determination. "I've never been more ready." On the ground, the air was thick with tension and the smell of ozone. Zalvari sentries patrolled the jagged cliffs, their alien weapons glinting under the rising sun. Mara's squad moved like shadows through the canyons, setting charges and hacking enemy turrets. Above them, the skies churned with war. The Vanguard and its remaining drone swarm engaged the Zalvari dreadnoughts in a fierce orbital battle, plasma storms lighting the darkness. Dr. Lena Ivers coordinated from the command deck, her fingers flying over controls. "Drones are holding, but the enemy's reinforcements keep coming," she reported. "We need to finish this ground operation. Fast." Suddenly the ground trembled. A massive gravity ripple pulsed from the heart of the enemy base, biotech weaponry awakening. Mara's comm crackled. "Incoming! Gravity fields activating! Brace for impact!" Invisible forces slammed into her squad, tossing soldiers into the air like ragdolls. Captain Reyes grit her teeth, using magnetic boots to anchor herself. "Hold position. Use the terrain." Zalvari warriors, enhanced by gravity implants, surged forward, their attacks deadly and disorienting. Mara's team fought tooth and nail, plasma bolts and bullets tearing through the alien ranks. At the center of the Zalvari stronghold, a towering crystalline structure pulsed with blue energy, the remnants of the hidden weapon, rebuilt and far more dangerous. Lieutenant Patel hacked into the alien system, fingers trembling. "If I can overload the core, it might disrupt their entire gravity field." Mara covered him, weaving through the chaos. "Do it. We're running out of time." The battle reached a fever pitch. Explosions rocked the canyon, sending clouds of red dust into the air. Mara's squad took heavy losses but pressed onward. Suddenly, a brilliant surge of energy burst from the crystalline core, shattering the gravity fields and throwing the battlefield into chaos. Zalvari soldiers faltered, their powers drained. "Now!" Mara shouted. The united human forces charged, overwhelming the stunned enemy. Back in orbit, the Vanguard delivered a devastating final strike. The dreadnoughts exploded in brilliant firestorms, scattering the Zalvari fleet. Dr. Ivers exhaled, relief washing over her. "We've done it. Mars is ours." On the ground, Mara stood amidst the smoking ruins, bloodied but unbroken. The survivors gathered, their faces etched with exhaustion and hope. We fought together. We survived together, Mara said quietly. This is only the beginning, but today, humanity won. Above, the stars burned bright, a silent witness to a new chapter, one forged in fire, blood, and unyielding courage. The red dust settled over the shattered landscape of Mars as the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the ruins of war. Captain Mara Reyes stood at the edge of the battlefield, her armor scarred, her face lined with exhaustion, but her eyes burned with a fierce light. Around her, survivors gathered, weary but alive, the first true signs of hope in months. The victory had come at a staggering cost. Entire squads had been lost to the Zalvari's relentless assault. Colonies lay in ruins, and yet humanity stood defiant. We did the impossible, Lieutenant Arjun Patel said quietly, joining Mara at the ridge. We stopped an extinction, Mara nodded. But the war isn't over. The Zalvari homeworld is out there, and they'll come back. Far above Mars, Vanguard orbited silently. Dr. Lena Ivers stared at the viewscreen, watching the planet below with mixed emotions. The hidden weapon was destroyed. Or so we thought, she muttered. But the energy signatures, they're still active beneath the surface. General Malik approached, his expression grim. So the fight continues. Lena's fingers danced across the console. We'll need every ounce of human ingenuity if we're to survive. Back on Mars, the political rifts that once threatened to tear humanity apart had begun to heal. The shared sacrifice forged new bonds between Earth and its colonies. Ambassador Khalid Ahmed addressed a gathering broadcast across the solar system. Today, we honor those who gave everything. But we also commit ourselves to a future where humanity stands united, stronger and wiser for the trials we've faced. In the weeks that followed, reconstruction began. Martian cities slowly rose from the ashes, fortified and redesigned with lessons learned. Research into the biogravity technology uncovered by the Zalvari sparked a new era of scientific advancement, a weapon no longer of destruction, but of defense and exploration. Captain Mara Reyes found herself mentoring the next generation of soldiers, her hard-earned wisdom guiding young recruits. One evening, as the twin moons of Mars cast silver light across the desert, Mara stood alone, on a ridge overlooking the rebuilt colony. Her comm beeped softly, a message from Earth. Report. Zalvari fleet detected moving beyond the Kuiper Belt. Estimated arrival, 18 months. Mara's breath caught. The enemy was coming back, but this time humanity would be ready. She whispered to the stars, we survived the fire before Earth. Now we prepare for the fight beyond the stars. The dawn of a new era was just beginning, and humanity's story was far from over.